time. We started out at a ERA company. We went to Remax shortly thereafter. We were at Remax for 10 years. At Remax, we were top 10 international. That's not to toot my horn. That's just to kind of give you some credibility here. And then we chose to go to Keller Williams 21 years ago. And in fact, we joined Keller Williams when there was only 4,000 people here.
Wow.
4,000 agents and 80 offices. People thought we were nuts. They thought we were crazy. But we felt like we had seen the vision that Gary Keller had created for us. And Mo Anderson actually was the pivotal force in getting us to join the company, in the sense that she never let up. She kept asking for us to join. From there, we got to the opportunity to open our own Keller Williams office, and then we got the opportunity to take on the South Florida region. So we've been running the South Florida region since about 2000, so 20 years for South Florida region. And we've also got 2 title companies. Actually, we're getting ready to open our 3rd title company in Cocoa Beach. And we're going to continue to expand throughout the state, but things are really great. We've been very blessed. We've seen good times and bad times. I'm sure some of you have seen this book before, Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Well, that was written about all of our mistakes. We were in the original group, and so we screwed everything up. We did everything wrong, and so Gary wrote the book to fix all of our wrongs. I have mine here. As you can see, it's all tabbed up, and I look at it, and we use it as a model for everything. But these concepts of growth and all of that all came many years ago, and they've just evolved, and they've gotten bigger and better. And if there's one thing that I can say that I've really truly learned from Keller Williams that has changed our lives, completely changed our lives, is the understanding of people, the consultative process, and how to hire people effectively. We pride ourselves on having some people with us that have been with us for over 20 years. They're great talent. They find their success within our success, and that's what it's all about.
Wow, what a great resume. Thank you for sharing that, Nikki. And I've got so many questions, and let me just dive in so we can get through as many of them as possible. If I'm on the call and I'm wondering when I should start building a team versus being an individual agent, what would your advice be to me?
Well, I believe that you can't start soon enough. That's just my opinion. We did it wrong. We waited too long. We were really busy. We were working, 18, 19, 20 hours a day. We were doing everything. And I really believe that had we made that decision and found our first assistant sooner, that our business would have taken off even that much faster. What I say by that is that it's a big step to hire that first person to come and work with you, because there's a commitment level. The commitment is not only to them, but it's to yourself. It's a commitment to yourself that you're going to build this business, and that you've got to get up every single day and you've got to do the things that you have to do in order to succeed in business. Because now you have somebody else's family that's depending on you too. And while that's a big thing to put on your shoulders, I really think that the sooner you hire somebody, the better. So if you're doing on average 1 sale a month on average, you're beyond time. If you've got 12 sales that you've done in a year, you should be hiring an assistant. They should be on board. If you're in your first 6 months of business and you've done 6 deals, you need an assistant. It's time, because those 1 a month will go to 2, will go to 3, will go to 4 when you buy back time. And but the key is, what are you going to do with the time? You can use the time to continue to build your business, which you should, or you could use the time to have more time with your family. Now, you can have both. It's not an or statement, it's an and statement. So you just have to learn how to use the time more effectively. But yes, sooner versus later, John, that was a long answer to your question.
Love that. So I've decided I'm going to hire someone, and that first hire is going to be an administrative assistant, somebody who is going to take my 80% so that I can focus on the 20% that creates more production for me. How do I know that I found the right person?
Well, first thing is you need to do the process. So I'm a massive advocate of the career visioning process. And I can tell you that that process alone has changed my life. Now, only if you do it completely from the beginning to the end. You can't skip steps. Many of us are high D's. High D goes step 1, step 2, 8, 9, 10. It didn't work. They were terrible. They weren't a great hire. I'm not going to use them. I'm never doing that again. I'm never hiring another assistant. This is the classic that we all go through, because then we go back and we look at, oh yeah, well, maybe because I skipped 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, that's the biggest thing. So how do I know? Well, success leaves clues, John. When people have been successful in their previous life, the odds are that they're going to continue to have success. So if you're doing the process and you truly are asking the right questions, not just checking off the questions, and I mean digging and asking, and then my biggest thing is if you're checking the references, and I'm not just saying the people they told you to call, because obviously if they don't give you a glowing reference, you have a problem. But I'm talking about who else can I talk to that would know this person, that could tell me that they, did a great job for them. That is how you know whether or not they're going to be good for you. Now, they also have to fit in your vision, John. So they have to see where you're going, and they have to be on the same plane. The problem is we tend to hire ourselves. We don't tend to hire the right person that is very different from us. We fall in love. You're a people person, John. I'm a people person. We get talking and we fall in love with people. People. We're talking about, I love horses. I love horses. Horses. They're perfect. I'm going to hire them. And we forget about the whole process. And then we hire these people. And then we go, oh, crap, they're not very good. Man, they're just like me. They don't like doing paperwork either. That's the wrong person.
Wrong person. I like that. They don't like doing paperwork either. Who's going to do it, right?
We do it all the time, and we hire people like ourselves versus the people who are very different from us, who will make us better, and that's the difference.
Interesting. So, guys, let me just tell everybody in the group, by the way, we've got 67 people on this call, so congratulations to all of you. I'm very impressed. If you have a question, if you'll put it in the group chat section, I promise that we will get to as many questions as we can. Nikki, I know that there's agents on this call from all over the country, and there's agents that are on this call that are not with Keller Williams as well. So if you could just give us a quick description of what career visioning is, the KPA process, and how that works.
Career visioning is a process that was created specifically for Keller Williams. In fact, way back when Gary Keller, back in the early 90s, he recognized that things were not going so well for the company. And he had hired a consultant by the name of Bain Henyon. And Bain Henyon came in and showed Gary that the biggest problem that Gary had was the people that he had hired around himself, and that he had himself in the wrong role at that time. He was not in the right role, and while they were all great people, nice people, they weren't the right people for those roles. So what Bain did was help Gary understand that, and then taught him a process of hiring. So it starts out with multiple interviews. And the first interview I do is a phone interview, just to kind of gauge the person. How did they answer the phone? How did they talk? Did they have the right answers to the questions? Were they forthcoming? Were they excited about this opportunity? So that's how it starts. If I find that, there seems to be a connection, there's some engagement there, I have all their resumes. So I'm reading resumes, and I'm reading between the lines in the resume. So I'm asking questions about the resume. And if I feel that this is a person I want to continue on with, I will then ask them if they would take our behavioral assessment. All of you in Keller Williams have access to the behavioral assessment called the KPA, which was actually designed for Keller Williams to use to identify talent for yourself. And really, this is not, I'm not hiring to a behavioral style. What I'm doing is I just want to find out who this person is. Who are they really? And that way I can say, you know, would that work for me? Does that fit in my organization? And, you know, then I'm going to, once I get that back, I verify it. You always have to verify it. Just don't do a behavioral assessment and go, oh, well, they're not for me because they're not a match. Don't do that, because interestingly enough, it's still a computer and it's not always 100%. And sometimes there's things that we have to uncover, because what I've learned is that experience changes people. So while when I was 20, I might have done something one way, when, you know, as I'm, you know, 56, I'm doing something, I still have that knowledge, but I'm doing it in a different way. And what I mean by that is, it's funny, because when I first took the KPA, this is a long answer to your question, but when I first took the KPA, it came back that I was too optimistic to be a leader. And that was one of the downfalls on me, being too optimistic. Well, I'm a very optimistic person. And it goes on to say, and then it just goes on to say that by being so optimistic, I might miss things or not be aware of the risks. I would have to say, yes, I agree with that when I was 20 years old, when I was 25 years old. I've been in business for, you know, 30 something years now. And believe me, I've experienced the good, the bad. So I have learned through experience, not natural behavior, through experience, that I have to sit back and say, okay, this is what I want. This is the perfect outcome, but what could go wrong? And if it goes wrong, what's my plan B? What's my plan C? What's my plan D? And put those to the side and still move forward with plan A, but be prepared. So that's what I'm talking about. That's why you have to verify the KPA. Then it takes you through multiple interviews, and you're finding out who this person really is, what's important to them. And you're developing this relationship. It's a process. I'm telling you, it's at least a 12-hour plus process that you're spending with one person for a hire. Doesn't happen over one day, happens over multiple days. And I do them on a regular basis. I was just doing one last week. In fact, I've got to finish that one up. So I'm always doing these because I want to see talent. Now, they may not fit on my organization now, but they may be on my bench for later. So it's a process that we do. But the number one biggest piece of that, John, is checking the references.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
It's the piece everybody skips. They, you know, they fall in love. They're already in love. Oh, they love everything about this person. And then they don't check the references. And then something ugly shows up, you know, 6 months, 8 months, a year later. And had they checked the references, they would have known that.
Yeah. So. And I think that one of the things that I love, and I'm one of those people who don't like to check the references, right? If I could hire somebody to check them for me, I would.
Right.
And I know that's a no-no as well. And one of the things that I love is the process of going 3 deep. In other words, who do you know, if I'm talking to you as a reference check, who do you know that I should call that Alex didn't give me as a reference? And then going 3 deep again on that person. And one of the things that I love is when we submit someone to the region for approval, I'll get an email back letting me know I don't have references 3 levels deep and I have to get more references. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. So, and it's a lot of work, but it's worth the time to hire the right person.
Right.
So the next question is, I've got my admin in place. I found the right person, and who's the next hire?
Well, obviously, let me just take that back, because you talked about hiring the admin, and guys, I cannot say that enough. John, you know, I know you're leading them with the path the right way, but people still don't hear it. They want to go hire a buyer specialist, their first hire, and you have no value to that buyer specialist if you don't have a foundational team. So I just want you to hear that loud and clear, that it's the first hire is your admin. Guess what? The second hire is a second admin. It's not a buyer specialist. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be your employee full-time. It could be a transaction coordinator that you've hired that you pay per closing to take on that piece of your business so that your executive assistant can do all the other pieces of your business. So just keep that in mind, but you really do need to have 2 admin people before you start adding anybody to your sales force. And they typically do 2 completely different jobs. We tend to, the administrative assistant that we first hire, the executive assistant, make sure that this is a person that's a high level hire, that is the person that could eventually run that administrative team for you, that they're the guy that's going to be your right arm, your left arm, that when you're not there, they're talking on your behalf, and you'd be proud and you'd be honored. My executive assistant is phenomenal. She is probably the best hire that one of the best hires I've ever made. But she has grown immensely in that role. She was a person that wanted to learn, that wanted to grow, and truly is, but it's very different from me, very different behaviorally from me, but I just adore her, and she has my back. She's got my right arm, my left arm. She's whatever I need. She's my Johnny on the spot, and that's what that hire looks like. They're a big thinker. They protect you, they get their arms around you, and they want you to grow. They're not looking for reasons why you can't do something. They're looking for reasons how to help you get where you want to go.
Yeah.
That's the right hire.
Talent pushes us, right?
Yeah, talent pushes us. Now, that doesn't mean, believe me, there's pushy people and they're not talent. So just remember that. Just because they're pushy doesn't mean they're talent. So, I mean, talent pushes you in the sense of they push you to be better and to build more business. So.
Cool. All right. So, Nikki, I've hired my first hire and I've hired my second admin. I've gone from 1 or 2 deals a month. You know, I'm now closing 4, 5, 6 sales a month. And I'm still going on listing appointments. I'm still working with buyers, of course. What's my next hire?
Well, you have to look and say, where am I spending the most time? And where would that be? With buyers, right? I mean, in reality, buyers are where we spend the most time. Now, there's 2 thoughts on this, because the original Millionaire Real Estate Agent was you went out and you hired a buyer specialist. Now there's a great thought process of hiring what we call showing specialists, where they're still your client, because if you're a person that likes to have your hands on things and still want to be in the game, then a showing specialist might be your next hire, in the sense that, that might be their training ground to become your buyer specialist. So in that role, you are still doing the buyer consultations, and then you're setting, and they're in that consultation with you, so they're learning from you doing it for them. So they're watching you as you role model it for them, and then they're going out and they're showing the properties, and they're finding the property that makes the most sense for the customer, which is where we spend the most time. When they found the right property, they bring them back. You, as the agent, get to write the contract, or they can write the contract if you teach them to, and then you do all the negotiations, so you're back in the deal. So that's another option. Or you hire somebody that you fully trust. They have the ability to take that customer, turn them into a buyer. They do the buyer consultation, because they shouldn't get off of that one either. They have to do the buyer consultation as if you had done it. They take them out, they show them the properties, they write the contract, and they put the deal together. So that's the options. So the new way is hiring a showing specialist, which is less cost to you, but it still involves you more. So you have to decide what works for you.
Yeah, I love this. So we are building a model, and I could continue to do this for another hour. And I know that your schedule's super tight, Nikki, believe it or not. It's 9:58. And I would love the opportunity to bring you back and do part 2 to this conversation, because we just barely created a foundation that will eventually be a 7th level business that nets $1 million a year.
That's right.
And I want to put that model together with you. And I got to tell you, I was talking to my good friend, Kathy, who $20 million producer from Remax, who joined your office recently.
Mm-hmm.
And everything you're sharing with me is exactly why she joined your office. And she and I were on the phone for an hour, and I can't tell you enough how happy she is. So you're changing lives, and that's awesome. I know you're going to change her life, and I love that.
We're happy to have her. She's been a blessing.
Yeah. So I want to get a couple of, if I can just ask your permission to hang in there with me for a little bit longer. There's a couple of questions that I want to pass on to you. Matei is asking, where do you see the most opportunities for agents in production? Is it in leadership? Is it coaching, market center leadership, investing in a market center, or title company?
Are they looking for another alternative stream of income? I'm assuming that's what they're
so
looking for.
Matei's a rock star. He's an agent in the Miami Kendall area. He is a top producer, and I know Matei really well. And basically he's saying, Nikki, if I'll speak for him, if I want to grow in this company, I'm looking at this opportunity map of everything that is out there for me. Where should I go?
Okay.
What's my opportunity?
All right. Well, there's two paths. There's the agent path, where it's just to continue to build your business and build your team. And then you have the expansion opportunity, where you can start expanding your team to other locations all over the country, so that you're doing business as many places as you want to do. So that's one option if you want to stay in the sales game. It's a phenomenal opportunity, and you're running a big real estate company basically under your name. So that's one opportunity. And that was Gary Keller's vision 20-something years ago, for people to do this. And then the other option is that if leadership is something that entices you and fills your soul, you got to remember, you got to fill your soul. You got to feel it on the inside, because leadership is not about getting a job. Leadership is a lot of work. But it's a very rewarding opportunity for those that are passionate about it. Actually, the job that John is doing is the absolute hardest job in the entire company, but it is absolutely, in my mind, 100% the most fulfilling position in this company. I've been in that role. I can tell you that it's an amazing place to be, and it's where you get to affect the most people. So yes, that's another option for him if that is what he wants to do. And I would suggest that go inside and say, where is my heart speaking to me? Because you're at a fork in the road, and you get to choose which side it is.
Good stuff. So Nadine August is asking, what is a recommended salary for an admin in South Florida?
Yeah, that's a hard one. And what I would suggest that you do is, and you can Google it. You can Google average administrative assistant in your location, and it will pop up with a range. And that's based on employment agencies in your area. So that's very accurate way to kind of give you a range. Now remember, the range is based on experience. So, always go to the lower end for the person with less experience, and the higher end, but also find out what they want. Would they prefer to have a less salary and have an opportunity on, bonus on business? So, you'd be surprised. You need to do what the win is for them. But that's how you find out where you should basically even be thinking to start.
Yeah. Good. Scott Bagoon is asking who your first hire was, not to name any names if you don't want to, and how many times did it take you to get it right?
Actually, we did hire our very first assistant. Her name was Rosalie, and she was not licensed. And we hired her part-time because I was pregnant with our first child, and I thought, I better get some help. And I didn't give up things to her like I should have, Scott. And then of course I broke water writing an offer in the office 4 weeks early. She was early. And so guess what? She got thrown into the fire to do things that I was doing. She'd been watching me, but she hadn't had her hands on it. So She actually was our assistant for several years, and we added other assistants on top of that with her. She was a great lady. However, when we were, and this is when you know you've outgrown somebody. So I want you to hear this. When our attorney said to us, for your protection, my advice to you is that everyone who works in your organization should be licensed, should have a real estate license. Whether they use it to sell property is not the point. They should be licensed so that nobody can ever say that so-and-so gave me information and they weren't supposed to do that, because somebody will find a way to come back at you. And it gives them a little bit of knowledge. And I said, okay. So we made that a policy. And when we announced that to the team, everybody on the team was excited about going to get their license, the ones that were admins, except for her. And she pulled me aside and she said, I made a promise to myself when I finished college, I would never take another test.
There you go.
And I said, well, then I love you, but I'm sorry, then you can't be on my team.
Wow.
And to this day, we're still friends, but that was the parting. Yeah.
Good answer. All right. Alex Kublix is asking, if I find talent, do I find a position for that person, or am I looking for the right person for the role?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to build your team and you're specifically looking for an executive assistant, then look for the person for the executive assistant role. Don't be finding, great, listing team talent or buyer team talent, because then you're going to put yourself at risk for not following the model.
Yep.
And I can assure you that it's not going to work. So if you're just trying to build the bench for future, it's okay to talk to, I talk to everybody because I'm always building a bench, but I don't create opportunities for people if I don't have them.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Nikki, I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I know that everybody on this call, there's 64 of them, are all very grateful for you. You're getting a standing ovation right now. I'm looking at all of the pictures, and they're raising the roof. It's loud. And before I let you go, if I could do one thing for you today, what could I do for you?
John, just keep doing what you're doing. You're pouring into your people. You've got a lot of your agents here and a lot of the agents in our South Florida region. Number one, of course, not that I don't love all the agents in KW and all the agents in general, but I have a little special place in my heart for our South Florida agents. But I love the fact that you're also pouring into agents that are not with our company, because that's who we are. That's what we are. There's enough business for us all. And we can all work together. Of course, we'd love to have them all with us, and we hope that they will see the value in working with us. But sometimes it takes time. And in fact, I just had somebody say to me, 16 years ago, I told you, don't give up on me. And that person just joined our company. 16 years. Wow. So I'm not saying for all those of you that are not with Keller Williams to not join us for 16 years. In fact, now she's going, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Why didn't I join you sooner? Right. I don't know, because maybe you didn't know enough yet, or you weren't willing to trust. So those of you that are here, I love that you're doing this, John. Keep doing what you're doing, because when we add value to people, we end up with valuable people.
Yeah. Great stuff, Nikki. Thank you. Thank you. Give Gary my best. Give your girls my best. Yes. Hug your new grandbaby for me.
Yes. The best.
Yes, there you go. And make it a great day.
You too.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. It's wonderful to be here with you.